Hey guys, okay, floating. It sounds so weird, but there's no better, there's no better term to really explain it because that's exactly what you're doing. So floating, I've also heard it called flotation therapy, or sensory deprivation, but I've heard that with lots of other different therapies that are not related to floating whatsoever. Flotation therapy or floating is where you literally get into this large tank, okay, and has a door to it. Just think of it like a really large bathtub, but really for only one person. And the water level is filled in the tank by about 10 inches or so, and there are pounds and pounds and pounds of Epsom salts mixed into the water. And so you shower before you get in the tank, and you climb in the tank. You put earplugs in. You don't have to, but I honestly can't imagine why you wouldn't. In fact, I actually put earplugs in, and I still even got a little bit of salt in my ear, and it's still there 6 days later. It's awesome. Hope that goes away soon. Anyway, so basically you get into the tank, and because there's so much Epsom salt, you float. And you just kind of lay back and you just relax. You can put your hands behind your head, you can put your arms out by your side. The tank is covered, and the idea is that, you close the door, and you don't have to if you don't want to, but they recommend that you do it. You can float without closing the door. I think, a lot of people talk about their issues with claustrophobia and that sort of thing. So anyway, when you close the door to the tank, you can't hear anything through the walls of the tank, and it's pitch black, so you can't see anything. So I'm not claustrophobic, but I wanted to see a way out, or my way out. I had read a lot of things on the internet before I did my float experience. And I don't know, I just kind of went into it thinking that I would leave the door open because I want to be comfortable in this experience, and just because I am encouraged to do it one way doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to. And the premise is that you go into your float session at this particular place that I went to for 90 minutes. So that sounded kind of like a long time for me, and when I was going through at least 2 years of the Lyme disease treatment that I went through, I took an Epsom salt bath every single day. Every day, because that was the only way that I could find relief from the pain and stiffness, and get any relief from the breathing problems that I had, which I'm still working on, but they definitely have improved since then. And so it was such a healing part of my treatment. It will always be part of my health routine. So I was very familiar with Epsom salt baths and that sort of thing to begin with. The temperature of the water is the temperature of you. So I thought that was pretty cool, because the one thing I found with Epsom salt baths is I always try to get as hot as I can stand the water in a bath, and I will quickly get chilly. So I'm constantly trying to reheat the water. And considering how big this tank was, I was thinking, oh great, I'm gonna freeze to death for my 90 minutes. But oddly, that didn't happen. So that was pretty cool. Let's see. So and because there was so much salt in the water, your skin just gets so soft, and that part was pretty cool. So anyway, the goal of floating is to literally take you into a space and to turn off every possible sense that you have and reduce the stimulation of your natural environment. So obviously you can't see anything. I actually put this little washcloth that they give you. They give you a towel, they give you a robe and all that fun stuff. Flip-flops, so you can kind of walk around your little room that has a tank in it, that also has a shower where you shower post and pre-float. So I put the little washcloth that I had in between the door and the tank. One, because I wanted just a tiny bit of light. So like I said, I knew where if I wanted to get out, I wanted to know where that was. I didn't know how, based on some of the things I had read on the internet, I didn't know how spacey I would get without having any kind of an idea, being in the pitch black tank. And so the more I read, the more I realized how unique and individual of an experience this is for every single person. I'd like to think that I actually have a really good sense of body awareness. And this experience heightened that for me even more in a good way. I could hear the way that I breathe so much more and so much clearer than anything I'd ever done before. Many, many years ago, I taught yoga and I was a student of yoga. I don't do that anymore. But I was coached and I would teach others how to breathe properly and all different forms of breathing exercises and things like that, while you're moving and while you're meditating and that sort of thing. And it was just, I don't know, it was different because I couldn't see anything and I couldn't hear anything except the chatter that was going on in my head and the way that I was breathing. And both of those things ended up being the only thing that I was focused on. And it was great. It was awesome. And I can see how that would be very different for some folks. I can see how some people would not want that to be the case. Some people would actually talk about how they would kind of, for a lack of a better term, hallucinate when they're in the tank because their mind has the opportunity to go to this unique place. And it's not a place that we can go to when we're, in traffic and even when we're sleeping, because part of the brain turns off in order for us to be able to recover at night. And you're conscious. I think some people do fall asleep, but you're not going to drown unless you're completely comatose and you roll over, which let me tell you, it's very difficult to roll over and not know that you rolled over because the salt is going to get in your eyes, or if anything, it gets on your lips or in your mouth and tastes bad. Let's just say that did happen. I didn't get it in my eyes. Like, oh gosh, I can imagine how painful that would be, but you're not going to drown. Let's just put it that way. So I totally recommend this for just about anybody, on multiple levels. Like I said, it's going to be a totally individual experience. It's very peaceful. And just like I said, the sound of your breath and the loudness of your thoughts is, it's very eye-opening. And I can imagine, 10 years ago, had I done this, what my experience would be compared to what it was now. It was a very positive experience for me. My mind was very calm. I was very happy before I went into the tank, that I didn't have a lot of stressors going on. But I did find that my creative juices were really flowing when I was in the tank. And I don't know. It was cool. So I'm really excited to do it again. On a side note, my husband went along with me, and they have like 4 or 5 different rooms, and each room has its own tank. So we both did our float session at the same time, but in our own separate tank. And because he is not a fan of the Epsom salt bath, mainly because of the heat, and at the moment we have a relatively small tub, and it just doesn't fit him really well. So he's never been one to really take a hot Epsom salt bath, even though he knows the healing power of Epsom salt. So we know that he's toxic right now, and he's got some detox issues that we're working through. Anyway, so he actually had significant detox reactions. He was a bit nauseous. So he had to get out of the tank a couple of times during his float session in order to allow his body to just process the toxins and, you know, drink some water and that sort of thing. And then when he finished his float session, we went home and he went straight to bed for a couple hours, and then he woke up feeling a lot better. So he knows that, and he wants to do more sessions so that he can, you know, experience an even greater benefits to detox through Epsom salt baths. So of course, because I'm just all about detox for every person, sick, healthy, whatever, part of you want to be healthy, part of your health routine regularly has to include detoxification. Whether that's simple or complex or seasonal or daily or whatever, it has to be part of your routine. We just don't have a choice anymore. Our bodies are too bombarded from the thoughts that we have, to the emotions that we feel, to the air that we're breathing in, to the water we're drinking, the foods we're eating, you name it. We're so toxic. And this is contributing significantly to our deterioration of health over you know, the course of our life, and all that stuff. So anyway, so I'm highly encouraging you to check into floating. Google it, and there's a couple different franchises are all, you know, kind of popping up around the country, but it's a really relaxing experience. And I really like being with people, so after about an hour by myself, I'm kind of like, okay, you know, I want to be around people. So I got kind of not bored while I was in the tank, but around that last 15 minutes or so, I just kind of started stretching, and I started doing some movements, and I just kind of wanted to see what my body could do while I was floating. So not like somersaults and stuff like that, but I was stretching, and it was really cool to see how the salt would force your body, and how buoyant you are, and the difference in your buoyancy and then that sort of thing. When you're in hundreds of pounds of Epsom salt versus 2 cups, which is the average that I recommend folks do for a daily Epsom salt detox bath. So anyway, so I hope that kind of gives you an idea as to what floating is. Sensory deprivation, like I said, I couldn't see anything, I couldn't really smell anything except for the salt water, and I didn't really focus on that so much. I did taste it by accident. Don't recommend that. It's not dangerous, but it's not good either. And then, let's see, what else? Touch. I mean, you feel the sensation of the water. But after a while, because the Epsom salt, there's so much of it, you just don't, I don't really notice feeling that. I felt more of when I would, you know, just bump into the side of the tank. I would feel that, or if I would float, you know, towards the top of the tank, my head would just kind of graze the tank, or my foot would graze the bottom of the tank, or whatever. So that was kind of fun, because then you just kind of, the faintest little movement to get you away from the wall could send you all the way to the other side of the wall. And granted, like I said, the tank is not huge, but it's definitely bigger than your bathtub. So take that into account. So check it out. Let me know what you think. I'm definitely going to do it again. And like I said, the Hubs is definitely going to do it again. And it's just a really cool therapy. So if anything, just quiet your mind and get away from the day-to-day craziness that we're all engaged with. And if anything, you'd at least be off your phone for 90 minutes, which for many of us can be a relief in itself. So highly encourage you to do it. Let me know what you think, and I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Okay, see ya.